I want to say yes.
Mm.
And the reason that I want to say yes, you could change my mind probably. But the reason I want to, like, there might be more
See,
conversation and I
this is
might change
free
my mind.
thinking. This is
I
free
know.
thinking.
No, I just, sometimes we have more conversation and I'm like, okay, I can see that. But I want to say yes. And the reason I want to say yes is because even if there's change and it doesn't work the way that we want it to, we learned something from it. So isn't that growth?
Mm.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you info, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info.
Welcome to the
Uh,
Walker Girl Show, everyone. It's Roney and Courtney on the mic, and we're recording. Actually, I want to shed this spotlight as we always do. We like to give to the audience or whoever's listening. Today we're recording on Veterans Day, so I definitely want to say for all of those individuals who have served, kept us all in good, just literally gave us our freedom, and consistently put their lives on the line every day. Retired, active, everyone that's reserved, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am actually saying thank you, and I'm sure Courtney's going to say thank you as well. So I'm not going to just say it's just me on the mic saying that. I definitely just want to share that and give you guys that spotlight because you guys deserve it. You guys do a lot more than I could ever do. So definitely thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say, Courtney, on that end, but if not, then we can just roll right into it.
I mean, I think you covered everybody and
Yeah,
everything. So yeah, absolutely. Just in
yeah,
agreement.
yep.
Thanks.
Just want to give you your chance in case you want to say something else. But how are you doing today? As of course, not just you, but everybody also listening. So if you need to take a pause and just answer the question, please do.
Yeah. Well, for me, um, I'm okay. I'm sleepy, as you know. Okay, so I'll tell you what happened this morning. So
Oh boy.
I forgot about daylight savings.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
It should be still the same.
No, it's not. It's
Holy crap.
so
So they might. Okay, now I understand a little bit more now. All
why
right.
I signed on the way I signed on. Yeah. So what happened was because Arizona does not have daylight savings.
Really?
We
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
don't
whoa, whoa, whoa,
change
whoa,
at
whoa.
all. Our time does not change.
Wait. This is all
Yeah.
brand new to me. What do you
Yes.
mean you
That's why
don't
I waited till we were recording. So Arizona time does not change. We don't like our clocks don't we don't move anything around. Arizona stays the same. Thank God, because it's so annoying. So, of course, my being from New York, my family's always been in New York. I've always paid attention to it because it's like,
right?
oh, my mom, I can call her now because we're 2 hours, it's 2 hours, yay. It's not so far apart. And then it goes back to 3 hours. And now we got to pay attention to what time I can call her at night,
Right.
things like that. Well, my parents moved over here now, so I don't think about it nearly as much. So
Yeah.
I signed on today. We have our time, our 3 hour time gap,
Right.
and you had your scheduled time to meet. Well, I woke up at like 6:30. I wake up. It's like the earliest I wake up all week is recording time. So I wake up all
Ooh.
groggy and sign on, and I'm sitting there, and you're rarely late. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like 7:03, 7:04, and I'm like,
This
oh my god.
mother.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my god. And I looked at my world clock just to like
Just to see.
confirm. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it. So I just grabbed my blanket and got on the couch and took a nap and did it all over again an hour later. So it was just a funny morning, but like one of those things that you don't think about until you have to think about it,
Yeah.
until it like smacks you in the face. And it's always funny because I wake up like, it's so early. And then I could have got a whole nother hour.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah.
Jeez, I mean, I don't know what to say on that one. I didn't know that it doesn't change over there. Like,
Yeah.
is that the entire West Coast because it's always 3 hours, or is it
No.
just
No,
Arizona?
just Arizona because so for example, like when we travel to California for rugby, which is like all the time, most of the time or some of the time it's we travel and back and there's no time change. And now
Interesting.
we're an hour ahead of California. So now when we
Interesting.
go, we have to worry about the time change. So it
That's
just
so interesting
time
because
changes around us.
it's not like you guys are Midwest. Are you guys aren't considered Midwest? You guys are actually considered the West, right?
We're the, I mean, mountain time range. We're not like on the
Pacific.
Pacific. Yeah, but
Oh,
we have like our own. Like there's, if you look, I think it actually says like mountain slash Arizona
yeah. I
or
wonder if
something
his.
like
I
that.
have a buddy of mine who is in Utah. I wonder if his changes. Um,
Yeah.
because I believe they're kind of on that same. Maybe not. I don't know. But
I
that's
don't
like
I don't want to speak to other places because obviously this confuses me.
that's so weird how
But
like some
I'm just
places changes and
sharing.
don't.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm just sharing because it smacked me in the face this morning, and I had to wake up twice. And I always sit down. And I'm like, okay, I'm
Blink,
ready to
blink,
go.
blink, blink, blink.
Let's go. You always sit on. You're like, are you ready? I'm like, yes.
Okay,
I just
that's
snap into it, but yeah.
that's I definitely I'm aware of that now, and thanks for telling me now while we're live on air,
Uh-huh.
right, kind of thing,
It's
instead
just,
of giving me that behind the scenes, like, hey,
well,
what time is it over there for you? You could have just
well,
asked a question.
no, as soon as you were like 3 minutes late, it popped into my head. And I
Mm.
was like, I'm going to go take a nap on the couch for an hour. And that's what I did. But anyway, things happen. It's all about adapting and adjusting.
Amen.
It's just an
Amen.
example. So that's all. But anyway, long story long, as always. I'm okay. I'm also, another thing, just getting over COVID. I didn't tell you that either.
Damn, they got you.
So they got me
Boom.
again twice.
Sheesh.
So I don't know how it happened. It was out of nowhere. So
You out partying during Halloween probably is what got
mm,
you it. That's what you get,
I was
girl.
carving two pumpkins, one for me and one for my dog on Halloween. That's the party I was having. So I wanted Pua to have his first pumpkin. So that's
Yeah.
the party that I had on Halloween. But no, just, we're here now. That's all that matters. We're good. We're awake.
It's still a thing, guys. I actually was having a conversation yesterday with someone. They were like, "Yeah, there's people are just like acting like it's just gone.
Mm, yeah.
It's not. It's something that's still gonna be
I
here.
know.
It's gonna be here forever." I like to look at I like to look at COVID as like the new flu. Essentially, it's here to stay. It's one of the
Hmm.
things we're just gonna have to deal with. You can call it the flu. I call it the flu, honestly, because that's exactly what I think it is. But
Yeah.
I'll keep my own opinions and my thoughts to myself. But you guys can believe what you want. But it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So brace yourself, guys. Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you, when you sneeze, you don't touch anybody. Like I mean, just do the common things, guys. Common
Yeah.
things. But
Yeah. So it's not a great time, but here we are. We're good. Those are all my updates that I haven't told you. But yeah.
okay.
How are you
Um,
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I know I typically don't say I'm good, right? I actually give context, but I really don't have anything to really give. It's just been, I guess a regular routine kind of thing for me. Nothing good, nothing bad. It's just Ronnie moving through the motions of life. I will be going back home for the holidays, which has been, I think, a couple of years since I've been. So,
Mm.
um, excited. Eh, let's just leave it like that. I got to go back to Connecticut. It's kind of why I'm like saying
Hmm.
this. Like, that's just
Yeah.
that's the place where I only go for family. Other than that,
Hmm. Hmm.
Connecticut doesn't see me at all.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
get
besides
that.
that, I'm all right. Nothing too good, nothing bad, no major updates. I would say.
Hmm.
Just striving and making forward steps every day. Again, walk and grow. That's all we can do. But
Sounds good.
let's get right into things. We probably taken up a few minutes of your ear, and you're probably like, "All right, come on, guys, let's get to it." Blah blah blah. Blah. I don't really care how you guys are doing, but it's important to figure out how you are doing because those are one of
Hmm.
the questions that, again, everyone lies or gives you a very broad answer, or just doesn't really tell you what's going on. So, do that for yourself. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for Courtney. Do it for yourself. But the question today that I really have is it's all about growth. Of course, we talk about growing and making sure that we can put ourselves in productive rooms, collaborating, healthy relationships, whatever the case may be. But now the question is really, what do you really want? Do you really want to grow or do you want to be stagnant? And I'm gonna use stagnation and growth nation as like the term of the day. I'm gonna coin that. So if you ever hear anyone say that, they got it from here. All right, let's just put it
Wow.
out there. Because I have never heard someone say growth nation before. Have you?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
So boom, there's we can coin that.
So
If any
Ronnieism.
or some Ronnieism. Okay, now we're coining a lot today, huh?
Your face, you're like, yeah, okay.
But yeah, no, I really want to talk about what do you really want? Is it growth or are you okay with where you're at? Are you okay with stagnant? And I don't think there's anything wrong with being stagnant, especially if you're good with where you are. But it's important to analyze, if there's an opportunity or is there a room for you to grow? Because I kind of want to just kind of reflect really quickly for myself, at least. It's when you're starting something new, and I'll answer it first, and then Courtney, you can go and give your feedback because I'm curious to hear. When you start something new, are you more inclined to just jump in and do it, or are you a paralysis analysis type of person? Do you kind of do all the research? Do you sit back and just kind of prolong, procrastinate on the entire thing in itself? What is it that you do? Because myself, I jump in, I figure it out as I go. This is literally this podcast is living proof of it,
Hmm.
of
That's
me
true.
jumping in and ready to go, and just I'm okay with not being perfect and
Hmm.
not for the end result to be perfect. I mean, I'm human, so I understand that, and I'm okay with messing up. And I think a lot of people should understand that as well. It's okay to mess up because that's how you truly indeed are going to put yourself in a better position to know what to do next time. So for somebody that's starting something new, what is it that you're more inclined to do? Are you inclined to jump in or take the I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z before getting started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a researcher,
Mm,
just for for one. It's definitely gonna depend on what it is. I'm trying to think. I mean, this was something new, and I definitely was just like, okay,
yeah, but
sure,
you
let's do
enjoy
it.
it. Like,
Like,
yeah, I feel like with this, you like, oh yeah, I could
I'm
see
used to.
myself doing this, and I enjoy talking to people. So
Exactly.
it
Yeah,
is
the
easier.
medium itself is different, but like
Yeah.
talking to people in these types of conversations isn't new for me at all. But I'm trying to think of like rugby. I definitely just was like, sure, let's do it.
Mm,
And but then still, you can say the same thing. I've been an athlete my whole life, and it's just elements of. I mean, rugby's a completely different thing, but if you're an athlete, you can jump into other sports and kind of adapt, right?
right. Right.
So I think I'm kind of if I had to just kind of think about any activity or try to give a broad answer, I think my answer would be jump in,
Mm,
then evaluate, like, how did that go? And then kind of take a step back if I need to. But yeah, I definitely am an observer. Just overall, I like to observe people and things and situations and see how things are going. But I think I tend to kind of just jump in
yeah.
and go
And
from
so
there.
for the person that doesn't jump in, I'm curious to know, like, what is it that stops you? Is
Yeah.
it that voice in your head that's telling you, because we all have it. I talk to myself a lot, honestly. And a lot of people will look at me like this guy's crazy, but it's the
Mhm.
voice in my head that I'm
Mhm.
kind of bouncing ideas or going back and forth with. Um, call it what you want. I'm okay with it. If you're not, sucks for you, not me. Uh, but I have that voice in my head, but at the same time, is can you control it? Because if you can't control it, I
Mhm.
think that's what stops people from really taking that leap forward to identify whatever it is that they want to identify, whether it is starting something new or jumping into. So it's one of those things, is that voice in your head that I think personally stops a lot of people from doing, including myself. Of course, we all struggle with different things from time to time. But if you enjoy and love doing what you're doing, that voice in your head should not really matter. But
Yeah.
I'm a man of my own, and I can't really speak for everyone else.
Mhm.
But
Well, I think anxiety plays a huge part, and that's basically what you're saying.
yeah,
That voice. I think anxiety plays a big part. I'm thinking of my clients, and then when I talk about joining new groups or making new friends, or why don't
hmm,
are you in any clubs or sports or anything? And there is a lot of anxiety of just like, how will it go? What will people think? And so I think that comes up for me. And then another thing is just kind of like life circumstance. I think people get comfortable in what they already have going. Um,
yeah,
so instead of things I've already tried, like thinking of things that I've wanted to do in my life, it's kind of like financially, am I going to be able to do that? Or, with time wise, am I going to be able to do this? Is it, just implementing things into your life can kind of be a scary thing. And people aren't always down for change. People aren't always ready to, I don't know, just depending on, like I said, depending on the change, depending on what it is, is it going to fit into the current lifestyle that you have?
So then that goes back to the question: what do you really want?
Mm-hmm.
Is it stagnation or is it growth nation? Which one is it?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're, and I get it. I mean, we could sit here and we can call it and label it so many different things of why somebody may not take action on something, but at the end of the day, it's what do you really want for yourself? Is this
Mm-hmm.
even in alignment with what you want to do? And I
Mm-hmm.
see you smile, so go ahead, strike away.
I So I've been thinking this the whole time. I'm gonna have to bring it up. This reminds me, whether you like it or not,
Oh,
this reminds me
here we
of
go.
offense versus defense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
Because that's what I mean. If you're stagnant, you're defense, right? For the most part. If you're growing and if you're willing to try new things and put yourself out there, that would be offense in this case.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we had that conversation, which feels like so long ago,
Yeah, I know,
um,
right? Man, what episode number was that? I don't remember, but go look, man. We talk about it plenty of times.
we've talked about it a couple times,
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, one thing I was on team defense for a while, and I there's a time and place for it. So there is a
yeah.
time and place for being stagnant. There's a time and place for preparation, and so yeah, I don't think stagnant is a bad thing. When you say stagnant versus growth, it makes it like, of course, people want growth, right? People don't want to
Well,
say,
not everybody. No, no. Mm-mm. I'm going to disagree. Nope, not everybody does.
okay.
Nope. And I
Well,
can
what
give. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, unless you're comfortable where you're at, like unless there's comfort in that,
But that's what prevents growth. It's
yeah,
comfortable. Being comfortable. I mean, if
hmm
nothing, like the whole good old saying, if nothing is broke, don't fix it.
yeah, yeah,
I completely get it. I'm not telling
hmm
you to switch anything, I'm not telling you to do anything differently, right? Just look at
hmm
yourself, look at what's going on. What is it that you really want? Are you right now in alignment towards that? If you are, great. Don't switch it.
yeah.
Don't even listen to anything I'm saying. Just say I'm a jackass, and I'm okay with saying like I don't care.
Are
But
you
if
good? Good. Turn off the episode. Cool. Great.
literally, hey, go about your business. You know, hey, you're doing your thing. But if
hmm
you're not so much in alignment and you can see it yourself, I think most times we can see ourselves in another place or a potential opportunity, or even, hey, I want to try this, or I want to grow and do this, be better at this. Those little thoughts is what I'm really referring to. Is what do you do in that situation? Because you
Okay.
clearly something's intriguing you for you to even think about it, and
hmm
thinking does take some effort.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you're thinking about it, why not just go explore? For all I
hmm
care, just go explore what it may
hmm
be, and who knows, you may open up a whole nother door that you probably would have never opened before, unless otherwise it's always going to be shut.
hmm
And I bring this up because I had a conversation, and thank God we had the podcast episode about AI, because it was another AI conversation I was involved in.
hmm
And of course, I'm sitting with these two other gentlemen, and I was like, "Are you guys using AI?" They looked at me like, "Nah," and I look at them like,
hmm
"What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, oh my, like, why are you guys not using it?" And
hmm
not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's like there are people using it, and you don't have to use it, but it's just at least understand, have a broad understanding of it. How can you even possibly use it? You don't have to use it like myself every day or every other day. Just
hmm
have a good understanding of it. So therefore, if an opportunity does present itself and you're thinking, what should I do? Well, maybe you can throw in, all right, let me go check out that AI thing, right? And go a little bit further into it because I now have a place that it can help me.
Just
Yeah,
knowing that it's an option as a tool.
right, right. And
Yeah.
I mean, sitting down and these guys were telling me no, and I told them, I said, hey, I mean, we're all three of us we're in the same business in real estate, so It was more or less about, how are you using AI in your business?
Mm-hmm.
And I kid you not, they were talking to me and telling me like, "Hey, we're not using it. I mean, I kind of want to keep my creativity." They're being
Mm-hmm.
very defensive, right? That's essentially what it
Mm-hmm.
was, extremely defensive. And I was like, "Hey, there's nothing wrong. It's everything you guys enjoy. That's your business. You do what you do. However, I want you to understand one thing. I will always kick your ass." It's literally what I told them. Always.
Okay. Me and
Why?
AI.
Because I'm a little bit more efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm using something to help me be efficient rather than, all right, I'm gonna stuck and be like, I have to be creative. Ronnie needs to be. I'm gonna spend the
Mm-hmm.
time to think. I'm gonna spend the time to think for sure, but I'm gonna have a buddy to the right of me that's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
helping me go right through this together.
Uh-huh.
But I was just I had that conversation with them, and I was like I could not wait to have this conversation today with you,
Mm-hmm.
because I literally saw it. I was like, that's someone who's very comfortable, stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
knows what they know, and okay with sticking with it, rather
Yeah.
than just opening up your eyes just a little bit to see what's
Mhm.
there.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Just a little bit. Wow.
I
Oh
had
my
to do that
gosh.
for the people on YouTube. You will understand.
Yeah. Just a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we had this
Oh
conversation in
man.
the AI episode too, because it is something that
Yeah.
is pretty different for a lot of people, and people may or may not be comfortable with, switching gears and
Yeah. Of course.
yeah. But yeah, it's interesting.
Different doesn't always have to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Different can sometimes be good, and it could sometimes be bad. It depends on what you really take from it, and what do you do. But that's
Mm-hmm.
where I think I love what you and I both do, where we jump into something and we are constantly evaluating, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't just jump in and continuously do something and don't look back to see how can we improve at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's we jump in and we're like, all right, well, let's see how it's going. What could we do differently? How could we improve? What's working? What do you
Mm-hmm.
like? What don't you like? Again, it goes back to the question from I said in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want? I mean, shoot. Like, just think about it. When's the last time you asked
Mm-hmm.
yourself that, Courtney? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious.
You ask me more than I ask me.
Ah, and we're not talking about today's episode, right?
Mm-mm. Just in general. Yeah, you asked me like 5 times today. No, but no, I mean, you bring it up more than I do. But I think it always comes down to language. I don't phrase it like that. There's a
Mm,
way of evaluating, anytime you're just reflecting
yeah,
on life, or what am I doing right now? Where is my energy going right now? I think you're kind of asking the same
same question.
questions.
Yep.
Where is my energy going? Is that where I want my energy to go? The tool that we use, the lifestyle balance pie thing that we did
Yeah.
about like, where is my energy going? That's come up in my head a couple times, because it's the same thing. What do you want? Where do you want, like we said, where do you want your energy to go? Your
Mm-hmm.
time, what's on your mind most of the time? Is there area for growth? What type of growth are you looking for? Things like that.
And that
But
lifestyle balance that she's referring to, that was episode 83. That was one of our tool of the month. Go check that out. It's actually Courtney did a phenomenal job with giving you guys her. I don't think it was yours. Was it your actual pie?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you gave your
Yeah.
actual pie on the Instagram account. So you guys go check that out if you guys want to know what she's talking about with that lifestyle balance. Because
Mm-hmm.
balance is a whole nother conversation. We'll say for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But
But that wasn't the point. It was about, energy and where your energy's going and things like that. But another, this is coming up, and I think it makes sense. It's a therapy tool, but it's not really a therapy tool. It's the stages of change. I think
hmm,
also is a good thing to bring up within this conversation, because
yeah,
where you're at in the stages of change is going to absolutely help determine whether or not you're ready for something new or ready to step into something new.
hmm,
So I'll explain. For people who are not aware of what the stages of change are. So the first one would be pre-contemplative, which means that you're pre-thinking about it,
right,
right? So like one example that I use with teens, because it's easy to think about, is like a diet or like starting a new exercise program or something like that. You're like, I could do it. I could see why it would be helpful, but I'm not even really like thinking about it. I'm not prepping for it, nothing like that. So once you have thought about it and ready to move on to like, okay, I'll actually put some effort into like maybe I'll actually try this. That's contemplative. So you're contemplating, you're thinking about doing it. Is this going to be good for me? Should I get started? So on and so forth. After contemplative is preparation. So you're actually preparing to make the steps. And what's funny is I think when we talk about growth and we talk about change, not a lot of people think about a preparation stage. A lot of people go from contemplative to action.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
That's
why
me.
maintenance doesn't work.
That's why
So,
maintenance
yeah,
is that the
so
next step?
after action. So, a lot of
Oh,
times going from contemplative to action, we're not necessarily ready for sustained change, right? Sometimes when you jump right into it, it's a little bit of like,
it's a
okay, now
shock.
I'm just doing this. And if you talk about a diet, for example, you can't jump into a diet without getting the food that you need.
Right.
Do you need to get rid of food in your house, right? You're preparing to do extra exercise? Do you have a gym membership? Do you have somewhere you can exercise? Do you
Right.
have you set out time in your day? Have you thought about different things like that? Just jumping into some of those things isn't necessarily going to help you in terms of, like I said, sustained change. So preparation is important before you get into action, which is just making the change. And then after action is maintenance. And how is it going? So like we talked about observing,
Yeah.
how did this change go? Is there more preparation that I need to have the sustained action? Things like that. So maintenance kind of is ever going. And a lot of people like to put relapse in the cycle because it's very normal.
To go
Um,
back, yeah.
in any change, yeah, it can be a super normal part of the cycle. But then if there is a relapse, and a lot of times people think of like addiction when you think of
Right.
relapse, but any change, there can be relapse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anytime we experience, something new, if it's not working for us or if we give up on it, that's a
That's
relapse.
relapse. Exactly.
And then, so do you put yourself back into the preparation? Do you put yourself back into action? So on and so forth, wherever you
It's even
insert back into the stages.
I remember when we were speaking to Leon, you mentioned I think it was the 2 day rule. That's your thing, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm. I
more
wish
than
it was
two
my
days.
thing.
Well, okay. Well, somebody
It's a
said it.
tool. No, I said it, but I think it's a great tool. I just need to be better at it. But yeah, not going 2 days without
Yeah.
doing something. Yeah.
But even if, like, let's just say you go 2 days consistently without doing it, that's like essentially you relapsing, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. It doesn't have to be used like you said. But you kept saying change and growth. Do you consider, because this is a question I had myself, and I don't have the answer, quite frankly. I kind of want to hear what you have to say on it, because, but anyway, the question is, do you think change is considered growth?
I like that question. Um, I want to say yes.
Mm.
And the reason that I want to say yes, you could change my mind probably. But the reason I want to, like, there might be more
See,
conversation and I
this is
might change
free
my mind.
thinking. This is
I
free
know.
thinking.
No, I just, sometimes we have more conversation and I'm like, okay, I can see that. But I want to say yes. And the reason I want to say yes is because even if there's change and it doesn't work the way that we want it to, we learned something from it. So isn't that growth?
Hmm. Okay.
I, you know, there's, I've had changes. I mean, there's been changes in my life that are terrible. There are changes in, the way that I think and my perspective and things like that have not
Yeah.
been good, but it's all for something better.
Yeah.
Same thing, like for example, I have an example at work recently. Like there were changes that nobody felt good about,
Mm.
but we had to do it to get somewhere better. So it was
Yeah.
a negative change, but it was for growth. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah, no, it does. I never thought about that aspect, like the things that even if you didn't enjoy or, what you took away from it, there was still an opportunity for growth there.
mhm.
So yeah, I definitely like that. I mean, you can know something and you can learn something, but if you don't apply it, that's where that's kind of why I get stuck with it. It's like,
Mhm.
you can know anything in the world. I mean, great.
Mhm.
Is that really going to give you growth though? Because at the end of the day, you have to apply it in order for you to identify
Absolutely.
the things that need to happen. So that's kind of where I kind of get like kind of, in the middle between it. It's like, is it
Mhm.
change really growth? Because somebody can learn everything in the textbook, but if you didn't apply any of it, then it's just like, all right, you just have this knowledge now. So where and how did you really, I don't know,
Well,
figure
if you
out?
didn't apply it, was there any change to begin with?
Well, I don't know. This is why this conversation. This is a good question. I truly don't know.
Yeah,
If you
because to
didn't,
me, if you use the stages, then you're kind of just in contemplative, and if you're in contemplative, then you didn't do anything. There was no action. So if
yeah,
there was no action, there was no change, and there was no growth.
but this person knows a little bit more
Well,
now. So
yeah, I
can you
don't even
say
like what I
there's?
just said because there can definitely be growth. I think there can be growth. Well, there can be growth. No, see, I don't like that either. I was gonna
It's
say there can be growth without change, but I'm thinking like physical change, but it doesn't have to be physical change. Like
no,
gaining information is
it's
change,
change.
and it can be growth.
So
So it's like
I guess we're kind
mental
of
versus
in.
emotional versus
Yeah.
physical versus.
It depends on definitely where you're at and what you're trying to focus in on. But I feel like if you're learning something, then you're giving yourself the opportunity to change. But then if
Mhm,
you apply it, then you give yourself the opportunity for growth. So
mhm,
is change
mm,
considered growth? I'm going to sit and say and answer my own question with only if it gets applied. And if it
mhm,
doesn't, then you've just changed. That's all. That's
mhm,
the best way I could put it. I mean, I've been sitting with myself and just trying to figure out like how do you really answer a question like that, and I couldn't come to any sort of consensus.
mhm,
But I think now I ever get asked that question, or I pose that question to someone, I'm gonna see how they answer, and I'm gonna hit them with the, if you didn't apply it, you didn't grow. So yeah, you changed, but you didn't grow, my boy. Stagnation versus
mhm.
growth nation. Ha ha.
Oh, hashtag, hashtag, hashtag.
Facts.
Yeah. No, I'm just speaking from like personal experience, I am with a lot of like stuff I've been learning just personally.
Mm,
It's it is a lot of like gathering information. It's mostly just about me. Like how do I act in these situations? It's I mean, to me, to put it simply, I feel like it's just like becoming an adult. Like that's what it is for me is like how do I react in these situations? How do I is that the pattern that I want? How do I change the patterns that I don't want? Things like that. So just kind of observing myself. I would say that I've done a lot of observing and but in my mind there is growth there. I'm
mm-hmm.
learning new things. I haven't really applied anything yet
Mm-hmm.
because I just haven't. That's not where I'm at yet. I'm still
Right.
learning. I'm still observing, but I know there's growth. There's the way that I think of it. I'm like seeing images in my head is like very just slow, kind of like getting ready. And this is the conversation we had with the offense versus defense. It's like very slow preparation. I'm like getting ready, taking teeny tiny steps. But then once I like put the pieces together and like really feel like I figured it out, I'm gonna take off.
Right.
That's kind
Right.
of how I see it. But there's growth through all of that. There's absolutely been growth. You can't tell me there has not been growth, even though I haven't applied it yet. Because now we're talking personal, so you cannot tell me
Oh
there has
man.
not been growth because I know there has. But because there is, I mean, understanding yourself and learning your patterns, that's absolutely growth,
Hmm.
even though there hasn't been any action towards new patterns yet. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
and I know this is just one example, but yeah, there's it's these like teeny tiny steps before we can get into actually putting it into play. But
Yeah. It takes small steps to have massive action. So I
mhm,
understand it. I get it. And that's why I kind of pose that question because again, I don't have a finite answer. I'm
mhm,
still just trying to answer that same question. So I hope I've given you guys something to really think about and kind of get your brain turning because this is what
mhm,
happens with me. So now you guys get to take a step into Ronnie's world, or Ronnie's brain at least, and try to figure out
mhm.
these hard questions that really have no definitive answer to it. And hopefully you
Yeah.
can create your own that makes sense to you, what you're looking to do,
Mhm,
what you're looking to do. And I challenge everyone that's listening to this, especially if you got to this point, you're in tune, you're trying to figure out something that's going on, you're trying to get to that next level. So I challenge you, as I started the episode with saying, what do you want? And I challenge you to sit with yourself and figure that out. I don't care how long it takes you. If you're able to share it with us, even better. Share it with us in one of our
Mhm.
posts and leave it in the comments. Send us a DM. Do what you have to do that's necessary to share with us, because I think this is the time where we truly indeed start holding people accountable. Because that's the best way that you're going to really be able to not only us, but hold yourself. Who cares about me? Who cares about Courtney? Hold yourself accountable. At least put it out into the universe that this is what you want. And so
Mhm.
if we see it, best believe I'm gonna see how could I best help, and of course,
Yeah.
if there's anything that I could do to help you stay accountable, I'm more than happy to do so. But you have to share it with us first. So drop it in one of our comments of one of the reels in regards to this episode in itself, and let's see what you guys have for us. I'll share mine. I guess we should all be a student or a teacher. A teacher should always be a student, and a student should always be a teacher. So for
Mhm.
me, what is it that I want? I could say the overarching goal, right? Freedom, freedom of all the
Mhm.
constraints and the things. But I'll keep it on a smaller scale, just because I think it's important. So my goal for myself is to have at least 20 plus real estate closings for next year. All right. So you guys heard it live. I'm telling you what my overarching short term goal is. This is for next year.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can get it done or not. Are
Mhm.
you guys gonna hold me accountable? Are you? Are you? Are you?
Mm.
It's a test. But Courtney, do you want to leave? I don't know if I gave you enough time to think about
I was
your
gonna
short
say right on
term,
the spot.
but if you don't, that's fine.
Um,
You can always
yeah.
share it with on the Instagram or anything.
Well, no, I mean, I think this is, we don't have to get into all this, but I think this is the time of year where people start thinking about goals.
Yeah,
And we've talked about how it doesn't have to be that way. We should
yeah.
be thinking about goals all the time, but it's definitely the time of year where people start thinking about their intentions for the next year and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that's a word that comes to mind for me, is just being very
Attention.
intentional and paying attention to why am I doing the things that I'm doing, rather
Yeah.
than just kind of be free flowing like I was this year. Being more intentional. In terms of professional, I'm happy with where I'm at. I think main goals for me will probably be how, like, being intentional in my relationships and budgeting a little
Mm.
bit more intentionally as well. I don't have a number yet. I didn't know I was going to be put on the spot, but definitely a little bit more cushion, and just being a little more safe in that area in terms of bills, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just having my financial life together, I
We have
guess,
an
would be
episode
two main
coming.
goals to pay attention to.
We'll have an episode coming up where we'll have a financial guy come on here and just give his expertise, or at least what he knows, his knowledge. So I like what you said, the intention. Is That's your word for next year. My word this year was resilient, and very simple. Don't Again, resilient came with a lot, of course. It come with other things, at least for myself, that I had to keep myself accountable of. But don't make it difficult for you guys. If it's a
Yeah.
word, great. Let's hear what your word is to hold yourself accountable, and how are you going to outlive that? So until next time, keep on applying those perspective, growth, education, and
Collaboration.
collaboration. Ooh, look at that! You like that, guys? Whew.
We collaborated.
Yeah. I think I said collaboration though, did I?
No, education, growth,